Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you like the content of my channel, please feel free to like and subscribe, as it enables me to make, far more of these kind of cool videos. So anyway, what do we have here? We have a really nice Seiko. Now this is part of their Black series of divers, the more higher end models from Prospex. This one is the SLA061. And it's a limited edition. Only 1,000 of these are going to be made, and I think it is a really nice looking watch. There's something about this watch, it just looks and feels nice. I really, it's sometimes with Seiko I'm a bit 50-50, but this one, I must admit, I love the colours, I love the feel, I really like the movement what's in this watch as well. Now, but before I get too far into this, let me say a big thank you to Ryan and the team over at Francis Gaye for allowing me to borrow this watch for review. They've got so much stock. You'd be hard pressed not to go into the shop and want to buy a watch or two. It is crazy. So if you're in the Midlands area, feel free to pop in. If you're further afield, check out their website. I'll leave a link in the description below. So anyway, let's have a look at this. I think it's stunning. The sizes wise, this is a 44mm case, but it doesn't really wear as like that, it really doesn't, but it's 13mm thick. The lug to lug size is 49mm and the bracelet size is 20mm. Now let's have a zoom in on that dial. Now people, if you know your Seikos, you know the Captain Willard model, and this is kind of similar, very similar to it, but more like a Super Willard really. This is a lot more hardcore. The dial itself, I think, looks stunning. It's got like it's hard to see really, you can just see it there, like a textured wave pattern almost on the dial, and I think it gives it a little bit more depth. It's hard to really see it on the camera, but when you look at it in person, it does give it a lot more kind of character. We have applied hour markers. The hour markers and hands, as you'd expect from a Seiko diver, are incredibly well loomed. Seiko, I'll never take that from them. They do amazing loom, and this is no exception. The hands wise, there's a nice bit of a nice chamfer running down, bit of brushwork. It is very nice. I love the second hand. It just looks right. I love the fact that it's got that kind of black tip, not tip, but counterweight on the other side there. It's a nice way of doing it. Balances it out, and you don't really read it because of it being black. The orange second hand with the loom there, also matching the diver's 200-meter there. It's just a very, very nice dial. I really like it. We do have a date position over at the 4:30 position down there in against black. The only thing I would say, if I was going to be super kind of picky, is they've got this kind of aged loom on there, and they've got a bright white there. In some ways, if that would have been the same colour as the loom, it would have looked really good. That's just one of those things. Now, as we come out, we have this bezel here. Quick listen to it. Let's have a listen. It is nice. Very subtle. Very nice. Back play. Yeah, there's a bit of back play, but let's just whiz it back round. Does it line up? That's the most important thing I always find with Seiko. Yeah, I'd say that's it. That's good. So it does line up. Now, one of the problems I would say here is for this price, and this watch RIP is 2,850, I would expect, a ceramic bezel maybe. The only reason why I say that, I've had this same bezel on a MM200, the great blue hole, I think it is, and it does scratch, so you got to be a little bit careful there. They do scratch, and they can be a pain because you can't get hold of these aftermarket. You'd have to send it off to Seiko to be done. That's my only kind of criticism with it. Otherwise, I think it's a beautiful bezel. It does look nice, but that is one point of concern. The actual case of a watch, we do have this PVD going on here. It does have Seiko's proprietary hard coating, which I believe is around about 500 Vickers, maybe 550 Vickers in hardness, which is okay, but it probably will mark up. But it's a lovely soft case. Lots of people love this case. I'm 50-50 with it, but there you go. It does have nice kind of radial brushwork going along there. We do have this nice little stagger going on the case, and then it's all this polish work underneath the side. One thing I would say, it's incredibly comfortable on the wrist. This kind of case really does sit well on the wrist. We have these natural kind of crown guards down here. They're good, but they also make it quite hard to actually manipulate the crown. As we can see, it's not signed. If I pull the crown out, it does pop out. There's a bit of thread on there, but it is actually quite awkward to get to. Let's try and screw it in, which, there we go. Yeah, it can feel a little bit awkward, but really, how often do you actually have to mess around with a crown? Not that much. I should point out as well, this does have sapphire crystal with AR coating on both sides. The back of a watch, if I just pull this, all the stickers are on here. It is a sealed screw down case back. Unfortunately, you can't see the movement. And I do say unfortunately, because this has got what I consider a proper good movement. So many people with Seikos are used to the R series, the 6R, the 4R, and they're hit and miss when it comes to movements. Don't get me wrong, they work well, but they are really hit and miss when it comes to accuracy. This watch has the 8L series movement inside, and the major difference is the beat rate. It beats at 8 beats per 8 beats per second instead of 6. It's a far more smoother gliding second hand around there. This movement, in fact, well, I put it on the time grapher, and I think it was coming out around about +2, maybe +3. Solid performance. This movement normally is very, very good. In fact, it's a 26 joule, does have 50 hours of power reserve, but basically it's the same movement in essence as the Grand Seiko 9S55 movement. The only difference really is the lack of decoration, but this has a bigger balance wheel because it normally requires more torque because it's moving around much larger hands around the dial. Servicing though on these watches, they do say every 2 to 3 years roughly. And do be aware, now that you're going into out of budget series of watches, these with these proper movements, they do like to be looked after. Just like any kind of car or whatever, they like to be serviced, and this one is no exception, and it will cost you a few £100 plus to have this one serviced, so be aware of that. I know lots of people don't bother and only wait until sync breaks, but that really isn't the way to do it, because then the service costs you a lot more. But anyway, as we come round, the bracelet. Now the bracelet is nice. You have this kind of brushwork and polish work in the centre. Quick test, has it got the typical Seiko movement? Yeah, there's a bit of play there. Not as bad as some Seikos, that's not too bad. There's a bit of play. But the bracelet itself is a nice looking bracelet, but I am surprised at this price point they're still using pin and collars. I'm surprised they're not starting to use, actual screws. I thought that would have been a norm. Now, the clasp is a standard folded steel affair, milled in the centre. Let's hear it. Nice, solid, and really thick, chunky keeper on there, which is quite cool, actually, with the logo underneath there. You do have to press both to release, that's fair enough. And you do have their dive link extension here, which is always a bit of a pain to open and close, but it's there, and that's the main thing. You can always remove it if you... Actually, can you remove it? I don't think you can, actually. But it is always there and something to have. One thing I should also point out is it does have drilled lugs, which makes changing straps or quite easy, because when you buy this, it does come with a second rubber strap. Now, one thing I can imagine is a dark tan vintage leather strap on this, looking the absolute biz. Now let's try this on my wrist and we see how it looks. Quick wrist check. I'm wearing an Oris 65 diver, the very first gem model. Bob, what you got, mate? Hamilton Murphy. Fair enough. Let's take this off. My wrist size is 7¼ inches. Now, it's not sized, obviously, but that is good that you do get plenty of bracelet. Say 7¼ inch wrist I've got, and I think it looks really quite cool because it's surprisingly not that thick, being that it's just a freehand model watch. I think it looks really, really good. This is a Seiko I definitely would consider. I think it really has a kind of cool look to it. But anyway, so guys, let me know what you think of it. If you want any, ask me any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you want to buy this watch, I say I'll leave a comment. I'll leave links to Francis Gaye's website in the description. Okay, all the best, and most importantly, stay safe out there. Take care. Bye.